Just want to say thank you again for everyone. Like I said, the most important thing for me is spreading awareness. As I go through kind of the thought process of kind of reliving some of the things that have gone on over the past, few years, even 20 years from when I believe the first symptoms occurred back in 2006. It really does bring up, the bad memories, but it also brings up, kind of my thought process, what it takes to overcome adversity. And that's, one of the things I preached, to my players when I did coach was overcoming adversity. It's the response. There's always going to be an event in your life that you need to, find a way to overcome some type of adversity. That event will be there throughout your life. It'll come in different forms, but it's the response that you make as an individual to get that outcome that you're looking for. E plus R equals O. It's not mine. I've seen it online. Event plus response equals outcome. That's since I've been going through this, since all these events have transpired in my life, and I had some difficult times. It's really about me saying to myself, how can I respond in a positive way for my family to make sure that I get the outcome that I'm looking for. In an earlier post, I said I wanted to make sure that I responded to every comment. I'm a little far behind right now. It's tough right now keeping up, but I do appreciate all those comments. But I do want to take a few minutes right now just to touch upon some comments that have been most common. What I might do this upcoming week, I might just go live and actually go through some of the comments and answer them and touch on them as I go. Because like I said, I appreciate all of them, but it's tough to keep up with them right now. I did touch on this. When I said that I lost my family, I did lose my family. I did what I had to do for my wife and my children. There was nothing for me left. There was nothing left for me in New York. Nothing. I couldn't get a job. My fingerprints were on hold with the Department of Education. I tried to go to Aldi, a supermarket. I couldn't pass the background check. So after a little while, I was able to get my real estate license, but I wasn't generating any income. I was just learning real estate in Long Island, New York. And what we decided to do is I decided to just take a trip down to Florida. My parents lived in Florida. My wife's parents lived in Long Island, New York. Take a flight down, take a real estate course, and maybe get my Florida real estate course as well. 2 days later, the pandemic hit. World shut down, real estate shut down, flights shut down. We made a decision as a family that, it was very difficult in New York at the time with the quarantine. We were going to get the kids set up in school. But for me, stay down here, try to figure out something. And that's what I did. I got a seasonal job at Target, and I've been with them for the last 5 years. So I did what I had to do, but I was 3 years away from my wife and children. We made that decision because we said to ourselves, this is the best thing for us moving forward. We have to figure out a way to start a new life, and that's what we did. So, holidays, birthdays, Father's Days, first days of school, soccer seasons, all those things were missed. And I think about those things, losing 3 years of my children growing up and that connection with my wife as well. It was very difficult, but we did what we had to do. Another question that I've been seeing is, do I feel the effects of alcohol? Yes. Somebody that has ABS, auto brewery syndrome, they show all the signs and symptoms of someone that is intoxicated, or in my case, extremely intoxicated. Sometimes I went up to about like a 0.24, 0.26, which is very, very dangerous. There is a Facebook support group. I've had that question come up. You can just search auto brewery syndrome. You'll see that support group there. Meal plans. What do I eat? I know I sent out that image of the FODMAP. And I did touch on what I can and can't eat. But it is meats, fishes, proteins. I try to stay away from the red meats. turkey burgers, things like that. But I am able to have some form of low FODMAP carbohydrates. So grapes, blueberries, melon, things like that, green beans, broccoli, but I can't have all fruits and vegetables. Another question was, do I have an attorney? When I was going through the grand jury and I was facing prison and I was facing, I guess that's enough. When you're facing prison every day of your life, the stress level that I experienced, it's hard to talk about. But when the case was dismissed, when at least the felony charges were dropped, and I have touched on this too. It wasn't dismissed because I had ABS. The prosecutor wasn't accepting that. I was willing to go to prison. I wasn't taking a plea. I told my lawyer, I told my family, I'm not taking any type of a plea. And I'm willing to go to prison for something that I did not do. All right. I wasn't going to go to prison for something that I did not do. But I was willing to. If that makes sense, if I said that correctly. I didn't want to take a plea and lose my license and things like that, and showing guilt, I couldn't do that. I was innocent, and that's really where I was. But that was 3 years of my life, and the stress level was unbelievable. So once it was dismissed, and it was dismissed on a speedy trial technicality, my lawyers were watching the speedy trial clock. With COVID, the courts kept opening and closing, and so the speedy trial clock would stop. My lawyers were paying attention to it. The prosecutor was not. He brought it to the judge once we were well over the time for speedy trial, and it was case dismissed. But to continue on and to keep fighting, it was difficult. It was when those charges were dismissed, the emotions. So to answer the question, no, I do not. I haven't gone back to that idea of trying to go after anyone with regards to my syndrome or anything like that. I haven't done that yet. Another question was, can I eat carbs? I know I just touched on that. I talked about the FODMAPs. Zero carbs, zero sugar, zero alcohol, 24/7, 365 days a year. I haven't had a carb or sugar since 2019, but like I did say, my nutritionist wanted me to start introducing some fruits and vegetables, which I have, and I haven't had problems with grapes, blueberries, melon, green beans, and broccoli. Another question was, what happened with my DWIs? I did have 2 in 6 months in New York. I will talk more about that tomorrow, because I want to spend a little time and explain kind of the thought process of what happened with my first one, which I haven't really talked about, what happened with the second one, and I'll take a little more time with that. And I will be, changing topic each day. I'm going to be talking about my grand jury. I'm going to be talking about some of my diary entries, and I do want to get, the full story out there, but it does take time. And just so you know, I'm working with, so obviously, like I said, getting the awareness out and spreading awareness. You can learn more about ABS and download case studies by going to autobrewery.org. So check that out if you want to learn more information on auto brewery syndrome. And other than that, I'm going to be signing off, but I will be popping on tomorrow, and I'm going to be doing a live feed and answering a lot of the questions and comments that I see throughout the chat. Thank you very much, everybody.